everybody, and welcome to another edition of Around the Boot. I'm Steve Schneider, and man, what a week 7 we have to talk about in high school football in the state of Louisiana. We bring in Gene Ponti up in Monroe, and Gene, we could start with 3 or 4 different games up in your area, but I think the one we have to start with is West Monroe and what they have been able to establish this entire season, but especially some of the big victories they've strung together here lately.
Yeah, it's really been remarkable, Stephen, and a pleasure being back with you again this week. That District 2 5A, you and I have talked kind of off the air a couple of times about how strong these teams are when you're talking Ouachita and Ruston and West Monroe and Ash and Pineville. I mean, just the whole mix is.
You left Neville off.
Well, I was coming to the Neville Tigers because we're getting ready to talk about Mike Collins and his team. And, you know, I know he's hurting Saturday morning because I know they felt like they gave one away. But to make reference to the West Monroe game, you know, I think they surprised a lot of people. And, you know, they put a lot of folks around the state on notice when they beat Catholic 3 weeks ago. Ash was going to be their first big district ball game last Friday, as you know. And they come back and win that thing with a walk-off field goal. But last night was going to be really big. Ouachita was a team that has always played everybody very tough. They've got some major league D1 players on that team, including O'Dillett and Berryman at that nose tackle spot, the kid that's going to Texas. But look, West Monroe under DeMichael Dizer, they just found a way to put it all together. And look, there's still a lot of football left. So, you know, they're not putting that cart before the horse by any means. But you know, they play for that kid. It helps that West Monroe's got a senior class with 41 guys in it. So they've been playing together for a long, long time. But that was a very impressive win against a good Ouachita team last night, 39-25.
And we have to mention Christian, your son, number 22. Not because we're being biased. He just had one whale of a game. And you have, you know, you're covering it, reporting it, and yet this is your kid. So it's really an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it really is, Steve. I try to kind of keep it all in line, and I don't try to show any favoritism to him. But look, he does it on his own. We've had that conversation as well one day, I remember, at lunch. And he's put in the work, so everything that's happened well to him has been well-deserved. And I was having the same conversation on the air with Tim Fletcher over in Shreveport Friday night. And, of course, Tim and I go way back. But, yeah, Christian had a big night. I think he had 24 carries, 258 yards, 3 touchdowns. So that's good numbers against a quality football team like Benji Lewis has.
And, of course, the Ruston Bearcats, the Ruston Neville series is historic. Neville had 57 yards in the first half.
348 yards of total offense in the first half. And as awesome as that sounds, what's even more remarkable to me is that Ruston had 0 yards rushing in the first half. Who would have thunk that, huh? But anyway, a crazy ball game. The Bearcats down 17 with, I think, 9:50, basically 10 minutes left in the ball game. And they let that one slip away. Neville put it on the floor. They got that fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Onside kick?
Yeah, then they got the onside kick. Dalen Powell took a screen 60 yards to get that second touchdown. Then they get the onside kick. And then the big kid, Morgan, at wide receiver, I think he had 4 catches, 96 yards, and a couple of scores. I don't know how he got that wide open, to be honest with you, on a little skinny slant. But, man, that was a big score. Hartwell impressed. I think he threw for 328 and 3 touchdowns. But a nice 41-37 victory for Coach Jared Ball.
And the Mangum football team, not that it was necessarily a surprise, but their series with Oak Grove is always a big deal, and they got it done. They actually pulled away after a close game early.
They really did, Steve. It was 49-28. I think the final is the way that thing ended up. Willie Randolph paced away with 138 yards, and I saw K.J. Bell have 109 more. But, look, a lot of people fall asleep on the Mangum Dragons, and you better not, because I think they got a football team that can make it back down to New Orleans. You know, there was a time when they went there 3 straight years in a row, never won the state title, but Coach Scott Wiltshire has that team in a great spot. And, look, you can't count out Ryan Gregory either. Just like all those teams in District 2 5A, there's not one of those teams that are lower ranked than, I think, 7 or 8 in the power ratings. So they all have a chance to make it to New Orleans or certainly deep in the playoffs. And the same can be said for the Tigers of Oak Grove.
And we got about 30 seconds. We're not even talking about Sterlington, right? We're not even talking about OCS. I mean, there's so many good football teams and fan bases.
Yeah, look, it's a pleasure covering those teams week in and week out. They really have it going on. Lee Doty's doing a phenomenal job at Sterlington. You know that. They won the state title a year ago. OCS has not been challenged yet. And if there's anything that they maybe has some concern, is the fact that they've played a lot of cupcakes, with all due respect to all of them, so far this season.
Well, Gene, we always appreciate having you on. Enjoy your weekend and this victory, and who knows, next week could be another celebration for the Rebels and all those other fine teams that you cover.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to the rest of the year. Like I said, we're only 7 weeks in, so still 3 more great weeks of football, and then hopefully 5 more after that.
Yeah, with the teams you're talking about, we're just basically a halfway point. So
yeah, well, I'd like to think so.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that'll do it for this segment. Stay tuned. More of Around the Boot coming up right after this.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Protect what matters most to you and find out the many ways you can benefit. 100% free tuition and fees to all state colleges. Job training in over 150 different career fields, healthcare, pay, and much more. The Louisiana Army National Guard, part-time service with lifelong benefits. Find out more by visiting www.lang-recruiting.com.
No one ever thinks they'll be in this position. Buying medication online could put you here, or here, or here. Counterfeit pills and other illicit substances are being laced with fentanyl, and fentanyl kills. It's 50 times stronger than heroin. Medical professionals can't even tell the difference between a real pill and one that is fake. At least not until they do your autopsy. Don't take anything online that doesn't come from your doctor. Buying online can leave you flatlined.
For over 100 years, our families have gathered together to share with each other our challenges and hopes, to take this light we've been gifted and paint a brighter future for the next generation. The seeds we plant today are the bounty we harvest tomorrow. As farmers, we know that together we're stronger than we could ever be apart. We're the Louisiana Farm Bureau, and we're the voice of Louisiana agriculture.
Welcome back to Around the Boot. Steve Schneider, LHSAA Network. Glad to bring in Garrett Walvoord, who's always the voice of so many of our great games. G-Dub, I like to call him. And Garrett, we certainly had a great experience in this last Week 7 game of the week over at Northwest.
Man, great. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Steve. Thanks for the time on the air. And yeah, the game of the week, Week 7, was a good one. How about Northwest trailing 20-7 to district rival Church Point? Coach Edwards told us they had to win this game or their season was effectively over. They weren't going to make the playoffs. They weren't going to be competitive in district, and they were trailing by 2 touchdowns, and then Kevon Johnson put his foot on the pedal and took off. Northwest comes away and wins this game, outscoring them like 39-16 over the rest of the game. Huge win for the Raiders, who are now in the driver's seat in their district. Church Point's still going to have a really great year as well under Coach Poole. Just an exciting atmosphere. They had the full contingent of the band, the Raiderette dancers. It was an awesome atmosphere. And oh yeah, you have the Rice Festival the next day. Just a great time to be in Opelousas.
Yes, and this coming week we're going to do Notre Dame and Jennings. Jennings is really looking impressive. Notre Dame's going to need a kind of a bounce back like Northwest had. They had a rough outing against Lafayette Christian, who's just been a fantastic team pretty much all year.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to be 2A playing up 3A. Tough district that they're in, but I think under Coach Louis Cook, who's won 4 titles there and another at Crowley, they certainly have the guys to do it. They lost their quarterback, their running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and the district defensive MVP in Jackson Casanova. But they still got some horses there. They're strong again with a 5-2 record and led by 2A star Cameron Stelly at cornerback and wide receiver. Notre Dame's got a talented team. And Jennings, they've won 5 of their last 6. They'll step out of district play this week, take on the Pios. They lost a heartbreaker last year. This game finished 19-17. A field goal and the defense forcing a safety was the difference for Notre Dame. They're led by Humphrey Ned. The Bulldogs have the district defensive MVP and a 4-year starter. He's playing a little wide out this year as well. So keep an eye out on Notre Dame and Jennings. Our game of the week Thursday at 7 p.m.
And a little scoop, I don't think we've officially announced it yet, but our next game of the week will be here in the Capital City area, and it's Zachary and Central, 2 bona fide contenders for state championships every year, but they both suffered some pretty significant losses. Liberty went into Zachary and won, and Catholic put 57 on the road at Central.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting either of those 2 scores. And, to focus on Zachary, really compelling storylines for Coach Brewerton's club. They lost a player, Jacarius Johnson, during the offseason to cancer. And for those teammates to see a 17-year-old struck down in the prime of their life, I think the grieving process was tough on them, but it really drew them close together. They're playing this season in his memory, and that's something really important for everyone to think about. They've started 5-2. They'll finish the season with games against the defending champion Central and Catholic High in Week 10. I'm looking for strong performances from Zachary in both those games.
Another amazing game that we saw in the Baton Rouge area, East Ascension and Santa Maria, has always been a great rivalry. I'm not sure there's ever been a game like this last game that they played. Between the atmosphere and the scoring, we had 5 minutes of highlights on Friday night in the booth, thanks to John Eads and WAFB. What can you say about that game where Santa Maria's quarterback did everything he could do, but they didn't complete the 2-point play to win, and East Ascension threw a huge celebration by knocking off the Gators?
Sometimes you leave it all out on the field and it's just not quite enough. And Santa Maria is a team that's going to be very dangerous in the postseason. Other side of the field, EA, huge momentum win for them. And Steve, you know it just as well as anybody. They've got like a Hall of Fame roundtable in their coaching staff. It's been amazing to see the come up for EA this year. Really like the Spartans.
Absolutely. And, the other team in the room, or elephant in the room, is Denham Springs. Brett Beard and his team, huge win over Dutchtown. Not just that they won, but by the margin that they won, they've got it rolling too. So lots of good football being played in that Livingston and Ascension district.
I think Beard was a great hire for them. He's been building that program up. And again, these last couple of weeks of the season are really going to be a telltale on how well they're prepared for the postseason. That's big boy football out there. And I don't think anybody expected Coach Mistretta's team to fall the way they did. They'll bounce back as well, though. Both those teams, big student bodies, they've got a lot of talent.
And later in the show, we're going to have Madeline Adams on from New Orleans, some of the big powers that they have down there. One that I thought probably caught your eye is Destrehan went up to Captain Shreve, which has been scoring so much, winning big games, and Destrehan just stomped them.
Sometimes it's a matter of the offensive and defensive lines going against each other, and Destrehan and defense go together like peanut butter and jelly. Those guys have been playing great defense for years. Really impressed with the way they started off fast this season. And they're just playing consistent football all the way through. Another squad in New Orleans that's caught my eye, of course, it's the Carr Cougars, 7-0, looking like a true juggernaut. I think they are averaging 42 points a game, giving up less than 10. Coach Bryce Brown's team has won 21 games in a row dating back 2 seasons. They've won 31 of their last 32 in the regular season, Steve. I don't know if there's a more powerful, consistent squad in the state in 5A than Carr.
We're going to leave it there. G-Dub, appreciate you being on, and look forward to seeing you again soon at the next game of the week.
Thursday, 7 o'clock. Thanks, Steve.
All right. More of Around the Boot right after this.
you want to break the rock, you need to make yourself indestructible. If you want to play between the hedges, you need to work out there, up there, down there, everywhere. If you want to reach the win bar, you need to lose sleep, lose count. You need to play every game like you got nothing to lose.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Welcome back to Around the Boot. Steve Schneider, LHSAA Network. Heading out west, KPLC's Ryan Blakely. Nice enough to join us. And Ryan, we were keeping our eye on at least a couple of big games in your area this past week 7. I think we need to start with the big rivalry over there. Of course, Leesville and Ritter, always a big game. And Leesville keeps on keeping on. The Wampus Cats kind of pulled away in that one.
Yeah. Leesville played really well in that game to win the Hooper Trophy that they play for down there. And the big story out of Leesville is Trell Broom, their quarterback, who's played really, really well. Just 2 weeks ago, he broke the single game Leesville record for passing yards with 408, I think was the final tally. So yeah, he's been really stepping up after their running back has moved on to Minnesota for a couple of years ago to really keep that offense going and really allow them to have the success they've had this year and obviously beat the Ritter again.
Yeah, Wampus Cats always known for their running game, all the way back to Cecil Collins and Michael Ford and those guys. But yeah, certainly a big result for them. And of course, we're keeping an eye on Hamilton Christian.
Yeah.
They have a 2 sports star. Maybe he's got more sports than that, but we certainly noticed him in basketball and in football. Mr. Vital ended up getting the job done, although it was a very good back and forth game from what I saw.
Yeah, it was. It was our game of the week this week, Hamilton Christian Elton, just because of the star power that was on the field. Javon Vital and then McKeelan Lemoyne from Elton, who's I think over 1,500 yards rushing at this point. So
Wow.
really, really cementing himself as one of the best athletes in the area as well. But yeah, Javon Vital and this Hamilton Christian team keep on pushing on, staying undefeated. Dexter Washington has those boys playing really, really well, and it's not just Javon Vital. Obviously, he's the offensive. He had 27 touchdowns going into to the game last week, so he's got obviously a lot of what their success is because of him. But they're the second best defense in the area right now as well in terms of scoring defense and points allowed. So they've got a little more on that side of the ball to really allow them to compete maybe even farther into the playoffs this year. So that's definitely a team to keep an eye on. And Javon was going to announce his commitment on Thursday. He did announce that, but then they did decide to push that back to the end of the season just to avoid the distractions. So I'm excited to see where they go.
They're smaller schools, but the athletes we're talking about pass the eye test in terms of
Yes, definitely.
talent and the interest that schools have in them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you get offers from LSU, UCLA, USC, the 1A on your class doesn't really matter at that point.
Yep, yep. So some other people that obviously we're keeping an eye on Jennings and how well they've been playing. They are going to be our game of the week this coming week 8, going and traveling to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame will be trying to rebound from a tough loss to a very good Lafayette Christian team. What have you seen from Jennings and maybe some other schools that you've been keeping an eye on?
Yeah, Jennings. I mean, the only thing to really talk about Jennings is Chris Ned in the backfield. The junior quarterback really does it all on offense for him. He had 3 first down touchdowns with his legs last week or yesterday, and they had a tough one in Iowa that they dropped week 1, and then they dropped another close one with LCCP, one of the more electric teams in the area as well. So yeah, just Chris Ned's been playing well. Coach Fusler has that defense playing really well and keeping them in games, so it should be a really good one. And Notre Dame, and then yeah, you get.
Can you see my notes through the computer? Like I have Iowa and LCCP right after that. tell our viewers a little bit about those teams, the athletes, and what you expect out of them here headed down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean Iowa looks like the real deal for sure. Tommy Johns has that team playing really, really well. Obviously, still undefeated, and beat Little Cypress week 2, which is usually a game that they need to play to kind of see, all right, well, what's our competition level once we get into the playoffs, and they handled them pretty well. So this is a team you definitely need to look out for, and I think the real difference is this year is they can really beat you any way they want on the ground. Javian Adams in the backfield can run run the rock. Obviously, he had like 4 touchdowns I think in the first quarter against Washington Marion, and then Caston Lewis kind of does it all for him out of the backfield. He catches passes, and then if you do shut down their run game, they've got the best wide receiver in the area, and Jeremiah Bushnell, who's already committed to play on it with at the University of Houston, so they really can beat you anyway. And then obviously Tommy Johns has that defense shored up and ready to go every week. And over to LCCP, I mean, an electric offense, and really a testament to how Coach Franklin has been able to adapt after their star quarterback Dylan Vital went down earlier. I think it was week 2 in that crazy Barb game. They lost Dylan Vital on like the second play of the game, and he's been out with an ankle injury so far. And Aiden Carter has really just taken over that team. They throw him anywhere and everywhere. They throw him at Wildcat. They hand the ball off to him. They throw the ball to him, and he's one of the fastest guys in the area. And he shows it every week with multiple rushing touchdowns on the ground and everything. So LCCP is going to be a team to be reckoned with as well. And I think one more team that I've definitely been keeping my eye on, and they're still undefeated, is Kinder, who's really, really stepped up this year. They've been one of the better teams in the area last year with head coach Justin Reed, and they've really stepped up, and now that they're playing like they're on a mission, and they're beating teams by 40 and 50, putting up 60 points of offense with Isaiah Thomas, one of the best quarterbacks in this area as well. And they're just continuing to obviously beat the teams that they put in front of them. So they're doing really well. So I think that's all the dominant teams and teams to look out for in this area. It's just been a really fun first year of covering this area for me, and I just can't wait to keep it rolling.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, that's all good stuff. We appreciate you sharing it with our audience, and look forward to talking to you again very soon on Around the Boot.
For over 100 years, our families have gathered together to share with each other our challenges and hopes, to take this light we've been gifted and paint a brighter future for the next generation. The seeds we plant today are the bounty we harvest tomorrow. As farmers, we know that together we're stronger than we could ever be apart. We're the Louisiana Farm Bureau, and we're the voice of Louisiana agriculture.
Protect what matters most to you and find out the many ways you can benefit. 100% free tuition and fees to all state colleges, job training in over 150 different career fields, healthcare, pay, and much more. The Louisiana Army National Guard, part-time service with lifelong benefits. Find out more by visiting www.lang-recruiting.com.
When looking for college, I wanted somewhere that would push me and allow me to kind of be the person I'd always wanted to be.
Everyone here kind of has this mindset of seeing the next person succeed, and I think that just creates a Southern Miss spirit.
You find what you need out of Southern Miss. What I need isn't what another student needs, but we all find something here.
You don't have to be what people have said you've been. You don't have to be what people think you are. Like, coming to Southern Miss, you can totally reinvent yourself and be who you truly feel like you are meant to be.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
And welcome back to Around the Boot. Steve Schneider with our final segment. We're headed to the Crescent City. Madeline Adams from Fox 8, nice enough to join us for the first time. Madeline, welcome to the show. And what's got you excited about football in South Louisiana?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Steve. I know this season has been flying by. I can't believe we're already like 7 weeks through the season. Before we know it, we'll be in the Superdome talking state championships. But yeah, working in New Orleans, we see so many incredible teams. And after last night, probably the first team I want to talk about is Edna Carr. They are just one of those powerhouses that they're such a consistent program this year. They picked up right where they left off last year, obviously, with that undefeated state championship season. They are 7-0 through 7 weeks in the season. They just beat Jesuit. And they're just one of those teams, again, Bryce Brown, they're so consistent week in and week out. And they're led by a guy named John Johnson, who I know a lot of people are familiar with, one of the best athletes in our area. Last year as a junior, I think he had 4,300 yards and 50 total touchdowns. He's picked up right where he's left off, too. I mean, just having an incredible season this year. So
he was our only Warwick Dunn finalist that wasn't a senior last year.
Yeah.
We had 10 guys. He was the only one who wasn't a senior.
And that just speaks to what he was able to do last year when you consider, all of the incredible talent that gets nominated for that award every year. So maybe competing with Carr to win that district championship, it's a team like John Curtis, another one of those teams that just is consistent every year, led by one of the most legendary coaches in the history of the game, JT Curtis. So just been so impressed with John Curtis. They had a big win over Brother Martin last night. Jacoby Boudreaux, Garland Gillen, who works with me here at Fox 8, he did a preview story, and he mentioned that Jacoby Boudreaux is averaging 100 yards rushing per game so far this season. So those are kind of two teams, especially in the Catholic League, that we're watching. But Steve, I know as we were talking before this, we mentioned Destrehan. Just because they're not in the city, maybe they aren't talked about as much. We talk about Destrehan a lot. They're just they're one of those teams again that they just have athletes every year, right? They're gonna have a chance just because of the athletes that they have there. They took a couple of tough losses, obviously, to Catholic and Alexandria, but they had a huge win, put up nearly 70 points against a really good Captain Shreve team last night. They put up 68 points. So I've just been so impressed with Destrehan as well. They're in the same, district as, the Terrebonne Tigers, which is so tough because I'm a Terrebonne alum, so them having to face Destrehan every year is, that's going to be a great game. But, and speaking of Terrebonne too, Steve, I have to mention a guy, Quincy Adams. He has just been outstanding for the Terrebonne Tigers. Through 6 weeks, he had, nearly 1,200 yards, 19 touchdowns. And then last night in their game against East St. John, he had 285 total yards, 5 total touchdowns. So those are kind of the teams that we're looking at. Obviously, working in New Orleans, like there are so many teams, and I know we're going to leave a couple, teams and athletes out, but it's just been so impressive to watch week in and week out the talent.
Well, when I hear the name Adams, I think greatness right away. So you're on point with that one. And there's another team in Houma that's getting a lot of attention too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The Vanderbilt Catholic Terriers. They're 7-0 right now, and they're one of those teams that, man, like if they have the right talent, they can be so successful. And so it's just been so fun to watch Vanderbilt. Evie White, and Thibodeau, who's just been, had a lot of success in recent years too. So, it's a lot of talent in, Houma, Thibodeau area. So I'm glad you gave me an opportunity to kind of talk about that.
Absolutely. And there's so many good River Parishes teams. We could go on and on about, the Riversides. And,
we left a couple teams out. I know Lakeshore, St. Charles Catholic, and St. Paul's on the North Shore wanted to get those into. So many good teams in our area, Steve.
Absolutely. Madeline, thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. That's going to wrap up this week's Around the Boot. I'm Steve Schneider with the LHSAA Network. We'll see you next week.